Welcome to the Hobby Jogger podcast, where elite athletes and ham and eggers lace up their stories. We explore the common ground that running creates, from the world-class runner to the hobbyist hitting the pavement, trail, or treadmill. Expect a blend of inspiration, laughter, and the shared joy that makes every step count. Join us on this journey where every run is a story worth sharing. Thank you for joining us for this special edition of the Hobby Jogger podcast, which we have dubbed with my co-host here, Rob Myers, as Hobby Jogger and Friends. Rob, how are you today?
I'm doing well. Looking forward to this unique episode.
Yep, we are joined by a former guest and co-host and a former co-host, Mr. Will Walmsley and Mr. Jeremy Pope are joining us today.
Hey, what's going on? Happy to be here.
Howdy.
Jeremy, Will, good to see you. Thanks for coming on. Today we're going to be reviewing the action over the weekend from the UTMB, which I guess, Will, would you say that it's the default World Championships?
Yeah, for 50K, 100K, and 100-mile distances, definitely be a championship weekend for that in trail running.
That's what I thought. So we're going to go through quick list of winners. Some disappointment. Obviously, anytime you are going to have trail running, there's going to be disappointment as well. Starting out with the OCC, however, former guest of the show and friend of the show, Eli Hemming, took the OCC crown. Did you get a chance to watch that, Jeremy?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I think Eli just led wire to wire. Am I right?
I believe he did. Didn't have great coverage for the OCC compared to, I think, the CCC and UTMB. But yeah, I know his better half, Tabor, unfortunately DNF'd, slipped, had some issues, injury possibly, and was leading. So that was pretty exciting to see. I mean, it happens. You go out hard, things don't work out your way, but
props to him. Been incredible for that couple, both of them getting first in the biggest 50K in the world.
Yeah, it's a fast couple right there. There's such a big stage. Hats off to them. And Rob, did you get a chance to watch?
I did. And is it just me or that Eli really didn't get that much shine? For coming in first place, listening to Free Trail, I didn't hear his name mentioned one time. I mean, I don't want to be a hater, but at the same time, it's pretty huge. I mean, people should be talking about Eli.
Yeah, I kind of get a little bit surprised by that. He's obviously become a superstar of the sport. He's won quite a few races this year, Black Canyon, Canyons 50K, now the World Championship. I mean, he is definitely at the top. He won Big Alta as well. Definitely top of the sport. Hopefully, is sponsored by Adidas Terex. So someone has noticed him and I notice him. So,
100%. But come on, Will. Nobody was talking about him.
I mean, there were a couple posts, but everything with UTMB, it just moves so fast from one to the next. As soon as OCC's done, I mean, the next day you have CCC and UTMB starting. Yeah, it's incredible. But if we look at last year compared to Stian Augerman, who won OCC last year, I felt Stian got more publicity than Eli did. So if we're comparing to that, yeah, he did not get enough publicity for how great of a performance he had.
And fellow Adidas Terex athlete Danny Moreno did finish sixth, top American woman. Another solid performance by Danny. So women's race was, I thought, excellent. The 50K. I think it was overshadowed a bit though by the CCC. Tony McCon, Adidas Terex athlete. Adidas really coming on as of late in the sponsorship world, I guess, so to speak. Team racing, is that a thing now, Will? Jeremy?
It should be. That'd be awesome if it was. I mean, you say it's coming on, but then for like the men's UTMB, they didn't have anyone in the top 10. But no, their athletes that did place in the top 10 all did really, really well.
Yeah, I would agree. I think it'd be cool to just see more of like a team component, maybe. Like let's put Hoka against Adidas, against Nike. Maybe there's Brooks in there.
And against the unsponsored runners as well.
Yeah, yeah. I think it'd be cool.
Yeah, unsponsored runners had a heck of a weekend as well. We'll get to that at the main event here. But I know we had talked about it, Will and Jeremy, the team aspect of running and kind of how it could correlate to, I know, like motocross racing, BMX racing, they also have team points where, say, Tony McCann wins the CCC, that's worth 100 points to the team standings. I'm not, even though I am Polish, I'm not going to try and pronounce her last name. From Hoka is second in the CCC, so that gets them 50 points in the team standings. I think it'd be pretty interesting to make a team aspect out of an individual sport like that. Maybe give the bigger companies something to work towards, by having a more well-rounded team with.
I'm wondering if that would lead to fewer DNFs, more pressure on like, hey, you got to finish. Like we can't have people dropping races.
More of a scoring, more of a scoring aspect where it's like maybe you're 25th, but you're still the 5th runner or something. I think that'd be cool.
Yeah, and you still have to battle to get, I guess what they call it there is factory points. That's true. Yeah, there would be pressure on you, especially because I know when I raced BMX, I was sponsored and went down in a pretty bad crash, and like the team owner was like, look, kid, we need you out there. We have a team as well. Like you got to go race the third moto, hurt or not. And I had to go out there, and I don't think I did very good, but yeah, that's an interesting point. That could be a lot more pressure from the sponsors to make guys and women finish. So,
and then I also wonder too, like the team aspect for like the professional athletes. See Adidas, Terex, their athletes all seem really closely knit, talking about being like best friends with each other. Like Tony McCann, Dana Moreno, you see them running together on some of their other Adidas teammates. But I don't know if I necessarily get that camaraderie from other teams, but maybe a team dynamic might start getting that.
Yeah, we noticed that when we went out to Western States, for sure. All the Adidas Terex runners were crewing for each other. It really did seem like they really had a team aspect versus any other team, really.
They were all there like cheering on Ingvild Kasperin. I think Danny and Tony paced her.
Yeah, because I believe I talked to when our guy, Simone Gosselin, had a little bit of an issue. I did talk to Tony a bit about it. So she was definitely there pacing someone. I don't know. You probably know better who than me.
Ingvild,
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, moving on to the men's 100-kilometer race, the CCC. Pretty exciting race. Hayden Hawks, Team Hoka, wins again. I believe that was his second year in a row, correct? Will, Jeremy?
Not in a row. No. John Albin won it last year, and Peter Engdahl won it before that. But he won it, I want to say like 2017. And that was like his coming, to the age kind of moment for him back then.
Yeah, pretty awesome performance. Definitely a tough race. I mean, anytime you run 100 kilometers, it's going to be tough. But second half of that, what I think it becomes the second half of the UTMB course, correct? Or just about?
I believe so. I think it starts in Courmayeur.
Yeah, it might go up a bit higher, I think, than UTMB goes. They were talking about a little bit, but I'm not going to get hung up on that.
What were your guys' thoughts on it seemed to me like pretty much all of the top Americans chose CCC, even with like having golden tickets to Western states. I mean, they already have automatic entry back here being like top 10.
Yeah, Jeremy, what do you think about that? Because you're the one that, I mean, you've run more 100 miles than any of us. Well, since none of us have, and more 100K at that distance. What do you think the thinking is behind that? Just real tough to turn around from Western states to run 100 miles again?
Yeah, I would say maybe the idea is that golden ticket, right? That's one piece. And then let's be honest, UTMB is a lot to chew on, right? Like it's just not your average 100. So maybe, I think CCC probably runs like it's more of a 100-miler, like a more of a 100-mile effort rather than UTMB where it's, I mean, you're going to be pretty banged up from that thing. But yeah, I feel like, I mean, we had 3 Americans in the top 10, Hayden, Adam, both on the podium. And then you had Dakota Jones sliding in at 9th. Pretty impressive, really.
And then another handful of Americans just outside the top 10.
Yeah.
So
Rod and those guys. One thing I was going to note from OCC and CCC, there was no Frenchmen in the top 10 of OCC and just one in CCC.
10th place for OCC or CCC.
Yeah, and it's like they kind of dominate the UTMB 100-mile. So it's just that, like, that's an interesting piece, but
Yeah,
I know a lot of folks online were comparing CCC to Western states as far as the amount of time it takes, like not the mileage, but time. Just kind of proves that the UTMB course is just that much harder.
They're like 10 or 11 hours for CCC, whereas you're looking at like 14 and a half, 15 hours for your top people at Western. I guess it's more.
Any truth in the elevation, though? Like the difference in elevation? Or I would say comparing the two.
Yeah, the elevation would be similar. You're talking 17,000 versus like 20,000.
Okay.
Hey, folks, if you're loving the stories, tips, and laughs we're dishing out, make sure you don't miss an episode. Hit that subscribe button so you're the first to know when a new episode drops. And hey, if you've got a second, why not leave us a review? Your feedback helps us improve and keeps this running community growing. Lace up, hit subscribe, and let's get back into the show. As we found out, the heat's a lot different. Brutally hot at Western states. That is soul sucking at times, I would say. Hats off to people that run it. Jeremy, I know how many tickets do you have for next year?
I have 64.
Oh, it's a lot. It's a lot of tickets.
Damn.
It's a good amount of tickets.
64.
On to the main event, which was UTMB. Will, real quick, what is UTMB?
It is the creme de la creme, top of the game, most competitive ultra trail 100-mile race in the world. It's actually a little bit longer, about 106, 107 miles. Starts in France, run through 3 countries around the tallest mountain in the Alps, Mont Blanc. And that's UTMB's championship 100-mile race.
It is the big one. It is the main event. Won this year by Vincent Bouliard. Will, we got a chance to talk to him after the Gorge 100K. Rob, you were there as well, correct?
Was?
Yeah, got a chance to meet Vincent. We did. Will and I had well, you've met him, you know him. But we got to see him out there crush the Gorge 100K course. So he did come in as, I guess, unknown. He wasn't unknown to me. I did pick him in my top 10. I was one of only 10 people who had him in their free trail top 10. And
where did you have him in your top 10?
I had him exactly 10th.
10 off.
Yeah, it's about the only thing I was close on all day defending my title belt. I did not go down swinging. I went out with a meek murmur as I was not close on much of anything.
I mean, he went out with like the rest of the elite men's field.
Yeah, I was we were dropping like flies. I think that I believe the first one to drop was I believe he's um Dmitry Mitayev of Russia. Yeah, he dropped
Dmitry
early.
Mityev.
Mitsiev, yes. My apologies if I mispronounce any names.
Quadzilla. Oh, have you ever seen
Yeah,
that guy running?
yeah, dude's jacked.
Yeah, like his legs are just ripped,
Yeah.
massive.
Uh, yeah, I maybe you have a little bit more insight, Will, Jeremy. What do you think the reason for all I don't want to say blow ups, just drops this year were? Any insight?
I don't know. I mean, it sounded like it was warm, but it wasn't. It seemed to be the men versus the women, right? The women,
Yeah.
there were not the drops that the
Yeah.
men had, but
It seemed more coincidental to me. Like, I don't think they went out too fast, pushed the pace, because I mean, you had Arthur and one other Chinese runner that went out with him. But otherwise, you had like a group of 30 plus men all run pretty well together. And I think it was just kind of coincidence for everybody. I haven't looked at the reasoning for everybody why they dropped. I know my brother, when he dropped at Courmayeur, he came into the race with a sprained ACL and tried to give it a go. And then all of a sudden it just got very problematic for him. Had nothing to do with like race conditions or GI issues, which would typically be the reasons why someone drops. But yeah, very odd that like pretty much everyone's picks for fantasy all dropped. Like guys that have consistently been or top 10 multiple times in a row outside Ludo Pomerantz. All the other people like dropped from the race.
I I will say that I was absolutely 100% most convinced of Ludovic being in the top 10. That was my smash lock. If I had to pick one person of the 20 picks to be in the top 10, if I got to wager on it, I would have picked Ludo to finish. That would have been Ludo. I think he just the dude's figured a lot of stuff out over the years, and you know, props to him. But yeah, he's always a solid pick.
Aging like a fine French wine.
just running away from running.
How old is he?
Father
He's
time.
like what, 49?
49 and finished fifth overall.
Dude.
And earlier set the course record for Hard Rock, beat Killian Jornet's course record.
Phenomenal.
Yep, wasn't even crazy. Yeah, finished fifth. I like how he runs it too. He was just looking at the placings. He was as far back as 45th place at the fly zone at Notre Dame at De La Gorge. It just kind of grinds through the race. Oh, 47th at La Balme. So La Balme. Mm-hmm. But yeah, Will, unfortunate. Your brother, he was my pick to win. If he's in it, I'm gonna pick him. Sucks with the knee, but live to fight another day.
I think seeing Vincent win, because that's one of Jim's best friends. Like, if Jim's gonna drop, it was almost like this is the best possible thing that could have happened. Like his buddy that has gone and crewed for him at so many different races was at Jim's wedding. You know, Vincent's from Annecy, so pretty local to the Alps, and he hasn't done many races. And just watching him come out of nowhere, first time doing UTMB, just absolutely crushed it. And like we're talking about all the elites dropping, and Vincent's time, unsponsored runner, and still ran sub 20. I think it was. I'd have to look, but that's right up there with Zach Miller's time last year. And did you guys see how much he won by? It was like 40 minutes.
It was quite a
It was less. So he was 1954, and then Baptiste was 2022. So
okay. So 28 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Still, I mean, that's
the most humble guy. If you watch his interviews, so humble.
Oh,
to the point where like I wish he would just acknowledge what he just did. You know,
Yeah.
he's almost too humble.
I
Sounded
could
like he
talk
didn't
about
even know.
Vincent for a long time. Just such a
Yeah.
great person. Couldn't be happier for him.
Awesome.
Sounded like he literally had like everyone in his family at the finish line. Like it was kind of mind-boggling for himself, really.
Yeah, I mean, just a quick train ride, I guess, for them, anywhere on the course. So that, awesome to see. Yeah, super nice guy. One of the just nicest people I've met. Him and is it his wife, Will? Camila?
Yep. Camila.
Yep. Just super nice people. Saw him over in France, saw him up in Portland.
Yeah. I mean, shoot, when we were there in 2022, Casey, they were going and driving my parents around the course.
That's cool.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah. Yeah. Vincent took on Joan and Harry duties. And that was, that's had to be a huge, burden. I don't want to say burden, but a huge task that, you and your brother didn't have to, or your sister have to, take them around, and they volunteered to handle the parents. Cause that's, that's always stressful when you have, mom and dad come out and want to watch. But
it's not like an easy task either. I mean, that's driving them around for 20 hours.
It's a lot of driving. It is
not just one little trip. You're driving around nonstop.
So Casey, our fans really want to know, you were the free trail champion last year. How did you make out this year?
529th place.
Okay.
I think I had more people DNF than finish.
There's always next year. Always next year.
1,001 DNFs total. 1,760 finishers.
Friend of the show, Andrew Glaze, did get a
finisher.
Nice.
I got to say, while we're talking about the UTMB, the best race report I saw, and I'm probably going to butcher her name, but it was hilarious. Fu Zhao Yang. Do we think that's correct?
Yeah.
Fu Zhao. Hoka sponsored, but just wrote the race report of got to Cormier, couldn't eat, didn't finish. And I was just like, I think, Will, you sent that to me, right?
Yeah, I was like, this is the best race report ever. Short to the point. I actually read it. I'm good.
Yep. Got right to the point. Didn't cut any corners. Didn't, just straight to the point. Didn't get long-winded and make excuses. And,
I think after Western States, I started following her, and she posts some funny stuff because she also retweeted or shared UTMB's reel where it had Matthew McConaughey before the race at the start line. It's getting pumped up, and then when you get to Cormier, and it's just Matthew McConaughey now, just crying.
Yep, that sounds about right. That's pretty much what happened to all of my picks. Tom Evans dropped. Jermaine Granger dropped. Mathieu Blanchard dropped. The previously mentioned Dmitry Mikhaev.
Yep, he dropped. Who was it? The guy that won Aurelian, that won Hard Rock last year, and he's previously finished second place at UTMB, I think in 21.
Did anyone check on the jacket guy that was up front for the first?
No. Speaking of him, did you guys notice how well Asia did across all of the races?
Yeah.
I mean, for the men in UTMB, not great, but they had Lin Chen over there on the women's, finished fourth. In the OCC, you had 3 men place top 10. Miao Yao, she won OCC. It's they're getting better, and it's nice seeing all those athletes. Vietnam had a woman that placed 4th overall CCC.
Was that Yao Yao? Is that her name? Miao Yao?
Miao Yao for OCC, yeah, winner there. She beat Judith Wider, who's just absolute short trail assassin from Switzerland. It's that's incredible.
It was Lin Chen. We saw her. She was one of my picks at Western States.
Ooh, was she the one with the foot issue?
Yeah, I was, we heard she dropped from a blister, and we never, I never saw her. I, obviously don't know her, but then I saw a video like a couple weeks later, and they showed her foot and how she made it that far on that foot. She's tough. Like that was as nasty of a foot as I've ever seen on a human, and
Yeah.
pretty impressive result here, finishing fourth for Lin Chen, another Adidas sponsored athlete. They had one.
They had 3 in UTMB. No, 4.
Yeah, they had 4 women in the top 10. Adidas Terex did. Didn't fare as well on the men's side, but still pretty good showing for the
I don't think I saw as much of a. Oh, time's up.
pretty funny.
Into the super shoes dominating like they did at Western States.
Do you think maybe it's less of a factor just being just the more elevation, ascent, descent kind of thing?
Yeah,
Well,
it's a lot of hiking.
Yeah.
Well, Vincent did have a pair of super shoes on that he helped design. He is an engineer for Hoka, which is pretty cool. So I guess in a way he's sponsored by Hoka. I mean, they do.
He works for Hoka. I mean, it's
yeah.
His paycheck says Hoka.
His paycheck does say Hoka, and probably pretty good benefits for.
I mean, I'm sponsored by a nutrition company, Morden Salt.
You are. I have I have a technology company that supports me, so appreciate them. And
Assuming Katie Scheid also had, like, she surely had some sort of.
Oh my gosh, we haven't even talked about Katie.
I know.
Oh.
Well, I was kind of saving it for the end because she is, first off, incredible. She finally started to have like a little showing of some sort of pain coming down from La Flagier. And I was like, okay, she's at least human. That's good to see. But she absolutely crushed that race. And I was sitting there, I was a little bit worried. I was like, man, she's out there like just going with the dudes like toe to toe, like right around the top 10.
From the very start, she was top 25.
Just blasting from the start. Like what a summer she's had. You're gonna obviously she's gonna get compared to Courtney.
What did she crush Courtney's record by? It was like 20 minutes, right?
20 minutes.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Did you hear
minutes.
Aid Station Fireball had an awesome tweet. This is the second ever course record that someone has taken from Courtney to Walter.
Which mind-blowing of a statistic there. I guess it'd be a statistic. Yeah, fact. But yeah, Katie Scheid, man, it'd be tough for me not to vote for female trail runner of the year.
She's one of the 2 most competitive 100-mile races.
Yeah. I mean, I think she's probably a lock for that at this point, but even just obviously 2 tremendous athletes, but her and Courtney toe to toe, I don't think there's much that separates them, if anything. And
no, I'd love to see that race.
Yeah, I would.
It's like a year ago or 2 years ago, you were like, "Oh, Courtney every time," but now I don't know.
Katie leveled up. Like Western States, she improved on her performance from last year in even harder conditions this year.
Yeah, it was hot this year. It comes back. Was it 8 weeks later after?
Correct? Yeah, and like I know Courtney did Hard Rock last year, did Western States Hard Rock, and then UTMB. But you look at Courtney last year for UTMB, and hey, she won it. That's amazing, but it was not, I think, as impressive as Katie did. Now, Katie didn't have Hard Rock, but still, like going out early, setting a course record, just dominating, where it was pretty much just a battle for second between Marianne Hogan and Ruth Croft.
Yeah, first place was decided at the start of the race. There was never, it was maybe she'll, something bad will happen. But yeah, she was right from the go was
Yeah.
looked determined to beat the
Yeah.
course record.
Every coach's dream. She started out a 100-mile race with a 5K PR. Like, it was awesome.
Yeah, it's exactly what I think you want. It's probably how they drew it up. But
But like watching the race, did you think maybe if that thing's 10 more miles and Ruth Croft was closing hard. I mean,
Was.
she might have had one of the best races, really.
I think she's
Yeah.
only about 40 minutes behind.
Yeah.
she was
Katie was
Crazy to
slowing.
think. It didn't feel 40 minutes.
No.
I was watching the coverage, and the pace at which Ruth Croft moved into second place past Marianne Hogan was like she was standing still. I mean, she just blew by her. Yeah, I mean, Katie was definitely, she just run UTMB. Of course, she was,
Yeah.
And
Well,
I'm
there's
sure
a lot of talk right now, like the changing of the guards between, at least Courtney kind of moving to the side. What do you think? You think Katie's going to take it? Like if they were head to head, maybe next year?
hopefully we get to see it.
Yeah,
I mean, I'd love
you're
to
hearing
see
it all over the place.
Courtney's
Changing the
still
guards.
Courtney. Courtney's still winning every race she enters. She's just choosing different races.
Yeah, I mean,
But
I don't think there's a battle that I want to see more in running right now than Katie versus Courtney at 100 miles.
yeah, I can't even think of two men I'd want to see racing like those two.
No, I really don't. I mean, I'm trying to come up like maybe Jim and Killian at UTMB.
Yeah, we've seen that.
Yeah, we've seen
No,
it.
I'd love to see that one too, but
I mean, but that's I just don't. There's just nothing comparable to Katie
Yeah.
and Courtney right now.
that's probably the closest, and I would still say Courtney and Katie is. They're just on relative to all the other women out there. It's like they're on a different level right now.
Yeah, if they enter the race, it's. I also did not pick Katie to win. I was like, Western States, that's going to be tough. Might get a little. Yeah, this is bad weekend for my picks. Great weekend for Katie Scheid.
I think Katie was one of the easiest. No, that wasn't an easy pick because I mean, her like Ruth Croft, Marianne Hogan, Blandine, Fu Zhao, like there were probably like 5 or 6. I was kind of going back and forth, but ultimately I was just like, nah, Katie's too fit. Like I saw an interview with her pre-race where she said she was feeling strong, no issues with Western State. I'm like, all right, I'm going this.
Yeah. Katie, like I said, that was probably the moment of the race. Her performance was the performance of the weekend. I would say, a lot of great ones out there. Great weekend, weekish of racing. Our guy, I guess we should of note, Simone Gosselin did not finish TDS, but Simone Degg, is that how you say his last name? Duguay did finally finish TDS, got that chip off his shoulder. So shout out to those guys.
Yeah. Do you guys have any plans or any want to go over and do any of the UTMB races? And which one would you guys want to do?
Rob, I know you have some stones, correct? UTMB stones.
Yeah, I think a few of us are signed up for one of them, right?
Yeah, we're heading down to Grindstone 50K here. Do you plan on entering next year? Over in France? What are you going to enter?
I mean, the obvious, right? I can't do more than 50K. So
UTMB?
Yeah.
The obvious.
No, you can only step up. It'd be CCC at that point.
Yeah. Jeremy, do you have any plans to enter?
I would absolutely love to. At this point, it's kind of like FOMO. I mean, I think, I would definitely CCC. Maybe as I get slightly older and wiser, maybe UTMB. 3-4 years.
Will?
I would definitely pick an OCC. One, I wouldn't be dead the next day like doing the other two. And then I'd still get to watch like UTMB and go be a fan. That for me would be awesome.
Yeah, that's. Do you plan on entering for next summer?
I got to go do another UTMB race. I think maybe I'll.
You still have the stones from last year's 100K.
Their rules are weird. If I can enter this year, I think I might.
Yeah, I can't.
The stones from Grindstone would carry, right?
Yeah, you get them for 2 years.
Yeah, I believe they carry, but then I think you still might have to do a UTMB race every year.
I think every other year you still have to run one. But
Okay. We'll be applying for it.
One thing about UTMB is, and Rob, you know this, that you're going to have to go into the race healthy.
I do.
And that kind of leads us into next week's guest that we have on the show. We got a doctor on here.
Dr. Bonnie.
Dr. Bonnie, someone who could set you straight. You know, Jeremy, I know you've dealt with injuries. Will, you've dealt with yourself for quite many years.
I played rugby for a while. I have a lot of injuries, yeah. Yeah,
a lot of injuries that we cover. Common running injuries with Dr. Bonnie Wilder. So I look forward to that episode coming out. Rob, what do you think?
Yes, very much looking forward to it. I think everyone on this call right now has had IT band issues at some point. And what drives everyone nuts is you have an IT band issue, but you really don't know what that means. You just know that my leg hurts. You don't know what it means. So listen to the episode next week. You will find out exactly what the IT band is and why it hurts and what causes it. So it'll be a good episode.
You also get a good discussion on super shoes and how they may or may not pertain to more injuries.
True.
Very good segment. Thank you to Dr. Bonnie Wilder, and we look forward to that coming out. But I think this about wraps up our UTMB wrap up. I don't have anything else. Do you have anything else, Rob?
No, I don't. It's the inaugural event of the Hobby Jogger and Friends. I think it went pretty well.
Hobby Jogger and Friends. Hobby Jogger and Pal. We'll go with Hobby Jogger and Friends. Thank you very much to our guests, sometimes co-hosts, Mr. Jeremy Pope and Mr. Will Walmsley. Thank you guys for joining us. And I guess we'll probably do this again in a couple weeks here. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of The Hobby Jogger. We hope you've enjoyed our conversation today. And if you liked what you heard, don't forget to subscribe and leave a review on your favorite podcast platform. Your support keeps us moving forward. Until next time, keep those feet moving and enjoy the miles.